Objection!
I think I made it clear in my last review of Phoenix Wright that I am a huge fan of the series. I can think of nothing more relaxing than laying back on my bed and playing these titles on my DS. They play like a book with all the same twists and turns, and you'll actually start caring about the characters new and old, and that always shows good writing in a story. Now, I did get your complaints on my last video, and I'm sorry that I broke my own rule. I showed the third case in that video, and that's something I really don't normally do. I only like to show gameplay footage of less than half of the game, so I won't spoil anything. This video will only have footage from the first two cases, but I assure you I have finished the title. In fact, I've finished every game in the series. If you don't know, you play as Phoenix Wright, a now somewhat experienced lawyer who's assisted in his cases by Maya. Maya is his old mentor's sister, and when she isn't in prison, she's usually pretty helpful on the cases. Unfortunately, Maya has this habit of being thrown into prison a lot, or just go missing, so don't expect her to be around all the time. To help you when Maya is busy dropping the soap is her cousin Pearl. Pearl is much more of a fun character to have around, as she was younger and sees the world in a different way. The one staple of the Phoenix Wright series is the rotating prosecutors, and this game is no exception. This time you have to go up against Francesca von Karma, the daughter of prosecutor Karma from the first game. She's pissed at Phoenix for what he did to her father, which I'm not going to spoil, but she's come to this country to get her revenge. She comes armed with a whip, and she won't hesitate using it on you or anybody else who angers her. She was a very interesting character, and while definitely she was more lively than the previous prosecutor Edgeworth, she wasn't as much fun to trounce as the other prosecutors. The graphics though are pretty much the same, but I think the cutscenes are slightly better than the first title. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for the music. They've replaced the tracks for reasons I just don't know. This is not a WiiWare related change, but one that was always there. The musical soundtrack isn't as epic as it was in the first title. Another change in this title is the loss of the third day. Everything now is done in 2 days or less. I like the 3-day cases. Sure, the plots would get stretched out a bit thin, but the courtroom was always funny to interact with. So the loss of that day was a bit unfortunate to me. To make up for the loss of the day, they used a new gameplay mechanic called the Psych to solve the mysteries of the characters. The whole thing was god-awful. I hated the Psych gimmick in this game, and I hate it in the next one as well. It dragged down the natural flow of the story. Basically, you're given a mystical talisman, and it gives you the ability to see people's secrets. When a character has a secret, it shows up on the screen as a lock and a chain over that person. You have to present those evidence to unlock those locks and get to the truth. It's not that hard, but it does seem unnecessary. They also improved the penalty system. They now use a bar to represent how much life you have left in your case. It'll be depleted with every wrong presentation of evidence, but the good thing about this is that not every penalty is worth the same amount of loss. Sometimes it'll only be depleted a little bit, but other times it can be depleted a great deal. When you get into these situations where a lot can be taken away, you really start to get nervous and it takes up the intensity of the game. Unlike the first title, the bar won't go up on its own. You'll have to use successful unlocks of people's psych locks to refill your gauge. This gauge will be the same one used during the trial as well. Phoenix Wright Justice for All is a fun game, even with the tweaks in the gameplay. There are 4 cases to play out, and it'll take about 10 hours to get through them all. The overall story is fun to read and experience, and the characters were fun to explore locations with, but I do wish they had stuck with the way the game was played in the last title. But I guess the creators found the need to change it up to keep it fresh. I will give the same advice that I gave in the last review. If you already own the DS version, don't bother with this version as it's not changed at all. However, if this is your first time playing this title, then it's absolutely worth a buy.